You've seen them, right? Those red and green bars on a stock chart. Most people just see data. But what if I told you they're not just bars, they're a language, a visual story of the never-ending battle between buyers and sellers. And in this explainer, we're going to learn exactly how to read that story.
I mean, think about it. What if you could look at a chart and instantly see the whole narrative playing out? See the moments of pure confidence, the flashes of fear, and the exact turning points where the battle for control is won or lost. Well, that's the power we're going to unlock today.
This quote just hits the nail on the head. A simple line chart, it just connects the dots at the end of each day. It tells you the final score, but you miss all the drama. You miss the incredible comebacks, the failed attacks. You miss the entire plot. Candlesticks, on the other hand, they give you the whole story, blow by blow.
Okay, so to read this story, we've got to start with the alphabet. Every single candlestick you see is like its own word. So let's break down its basic parts and really understand this language. Each candle looks simple, but wow, is it powerful. That thick part in the middle, that's called the body. It shows you the distance between where the price opened and where it closed. And those thin little lines sticking out, we call those wicks or shadows. And they show you the entire battlefield, the absolute highest and lowest prices that were reached. So from this one little shape, you get 4 key pieces of information: open, high, low, and close.
And the color? Well, that tells you who won the battle for that session. If it's green, the price closed higher than it opened. Simple. The buyers were in control. We call that bullish. If it's red, the price closed lower than it opened. The sellers dominated. That's bearish. It's the most basic piece of the puzzle, but it's absolutely crucial.
Now here's where people usually get totally overwhelmed. They try to memorize dozens and dozens of patterns with crazy names. But let's simplify all that, because every single candlestick out there, no matter what it's called, is really just telling one of 3 core stories. That's it, just 3. If you understand these, you understand everything.
So, these are our building blocks. Story number 1 is strength, where one side is just clearly winning. Story 2 is control shift, which is the plot twist, where you see a power struggle and a potential change in direction. And story 3 is indecision, where the market just kind of stops and nobody's in charge. Master these 3 stories and I promise you, you can interpret almost any chart out there.
All right, so our first story is strength, and it is all about pure dominance. You see a candle with a big, long body and tiny little wicks? That tells you one side was completely in command with almost no fight from the other. A big green body means buyers are just aggressively pushing prices higher. A big red body, sellers are in total control, slamming the price down. It's all about conviction. And the ultimate strength candle is called a Marubozu. This thing is so strong it doesn't even have wicks. That means the price opened at the very bottom and closed at the very top of the session, or vice versa. There was zero pushback. This is the market's version of a knockout punch. It's a statement of absolute control.
Now for the plot twist. Story number 2 is the control shift. This one tells a story of rejection. The big clue here is a long wick. A long wick is screaming at you that one side tried to push the price way in one direction, but the other side fought back hard and rejected that move. This is often a huge sign that momentum is fading and a reversal could be right around the corner.
You've probably heard of patterns like the hammer and the shooting star, right? These are classic control shift candles. With a hammer, sellers push the price way down, but then the buyers storm back in and manage to close way back up near the open. It's a powerful story of buyers flat out rejecting lower prices. And a shooting star is just the exact opposite story playing out.
And our final story is indecision. This candle is like a perfect tug of war where neither side wins. The body is tiny, which means the open and close prices were super close to each other. And you'll see wicks on both sides, which shows that both buyers and sellers tried to make a move, but neither could gain any ground. The battle just ended in a stalemate. The market is full of uncertainty.
The most famous indecision candle has to be the doji. It often looks like a plus sign or a cross because the open and close are pretty much identical. Think of this as the market taking a breath, trying to figure out where to go next. These are so important to watch because they often pop up right before a huge breakout or a major reversal, signaling that the current trend is just running out of steam.
So if a single candle is a word, then when you start putting them together, you start forming sentences. And this is where the story gets really interesting. Let's look at how these individual stories combine to create a much more complex and powerful narrative.
Okay, let's build a classic story together. It's a bullish reversal pattern called the morning star. So the story opens during a downtrend. The first thing we see is a big red strength candle.
The narrative is crystal clear. Sellers are confident, they are firmly in control, and they're pushing prices lower. But then, the plot twist. The very next candle is a small-bodied indecision candle, a doji or a spinning top. All of a sudden, that strong downward momentum just vanishes. The market slams on the brakes. This is that critical moment of uncertainty where control is totally up for grabs.
And finally, the resolution. A new hero emerges, a strong green strength candle. Buyers step in with incredible force, pushing the price way up and closing deep inside the territory of that first red candle. And just like that, the three-part story confirms the shift in power. The downtrend is likely over, and the buyers are now calling the shots.
See, we just read a complete story. But here's the secret, the thing that separates traders who get this from those who don't. A story's meaning depends entirely on where you tell it. And this brings us to the most crucial concept of all. It all comes down to one single word: context.
And this is the critical mistake. So many people learn a pattern, like a hammer, and they start seeing it everywhere. They treat it like a cheat code in a video game. But a hammer appearing in the middle of a random chart means absolutely nothing. Its meaning changes completely depending on where and when it appears. It's not a cheat code, it's a clue that only makes sense as part of the bigger story.
So how do we find the right context? You gotta ask 3 key questions. Number 1, location. Is the pattern showing up at a key support level, a price where the market has bounced before? That's a huge deal. Number 2, sequence. What was the story leading up to this point? Was there a long, exhausting trend that might be ready to die? And number 3, confirmation. Is anything else backing this up? Do you see a big spike in trading volume? When all 3 of these line up, that's when you know the story is real. All right, let's wrap this all up. Let's focus on how to actually put this into practice, and more importantly, how to sidestep the common traps that catch so many traders.
Okay, let's talk drawbacks versus solutions. First up, you're gonna see false signals. It happens. The solution? Always wait for confirmation from the next candle. Don't jump the gun. Second, lack of context. The solution, like we said, is to always analyze the pattern within the larger trend. Third, subjectivity. To fix this, you have to create clear, defined rules for yourself on what a valid pattern looks like. And finally, market noise, especially on short time frames. The solution? Just zoom out. Focus on higher time frames like the daily or weekly charts, where the stories are much clearer. Do this, and you turn candlestick analysis from a guessing game into a high-probability strategy.
So just remember, candlesticks aren't a crystal ball. They do not predict the future with certainty. What they do, better than anything else, is reveal the psychology of the market in the present moment. They show you who is in control, right now. So the only question left is, now that you've learned the language, what story is the market telling you?
This image is for illustrative purposes only. To gain a deeper and more structured understanding, join my community where you will have access to comprehensive materials and detailed guidance.